Discipline for me is about self-care. It's the greatest act of self-love that you can have, right? It's keeping a promise that you've made to yourself, even when it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment. It's keeping that promise so that the future you can benefit in the long term.
Welcome to the Iron Mindset podcast, a podcast focused on discipline and strategy for women scaling lifestyle-led businesses. I'm Valentina, your host, a serial entrepreneur with almost 2 decades of business and marketing experience. And we're all here because we're in the business of number one. Today's guest is Alex Coward, a business strategist, consultant, and coach who helps entrepreneurs build businesses that are profitable, sustainable, and actually support the life they want to live. With a background in corporate leadership and consultancy, Alex specializes in strategy, execution, and disciplined decision-making that produces real results. In today's episode, we talk about discipline as the ultimate self-love, keeping promises to yourself even when it doesn't feel good, and why Alex's 2025 word became the foundation of her momentum. Data over guesswork, why quarterly planning with actual metrics beats hoping for the best, and the difference between having a destination versus driving and praying you end up somewhere good. And the focus trap, why your prioritized list of 10 things isn't actually priorities, how Alex built a 6-figure business working 20 hours a week, and why 3 is the only number that matters. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Hi, Alex. Thank you for being a guest on this podcast. First of all, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
So I have been in business now for 5 years, which is wild. I have a proper COVID baby of a business. Started because I was on furlough and had nothing better to do, and it's taken over my entire life. So I am a business coach, I'm a strategist, and I'm a consultant. So I have many streams to my business, but effectively across the board, I help people get their lives back so we earn more, work a little bit less, and have a lot more fun. Because I think so many people sacrifice themselves. Like, there's nothing wrong with hustle, but we shouldn't be sacrificing life just to make money. Like, there's more to life than being really quick at emailing. So yeah, I help people get some life back and enjoy their life more.
Tell us about how you got into this business world.
So my background is in operations. So prior to COVID happening, prior to 2020, I'd been working in a consultancy, super fast growth. In 3 years, we'd gone from 12 people around one table in a tiny little office in Vauxhall to having 3 offices around the world, 100 employees, making 7 million a year. Like, it was very, very fast growth. And I basically did all of the background operations. So at one point was every single back office department that you could manage as a department of one, and slowly built them up, brought people in to take over specialist jobs. So my background has always been in business growth and strategy. When I actually started doing that on a consultancy basis. I would go into businesses and I would streamline them. So going in, looking at where people were duplicating effort or missing things, where we could improve things, how we could improve their revenue, but most importantly, improve their profit, because that is obviously the essential part of business. Revenue is great, but if you're not in profit, you're not doing very well. And then as I moved along, I discovered that actually one of the biggest things that was needed by my clients was coaching, because if the leader in charge of the business isn't in a good mindset or doesn't have the skills that they need, then they're not going to get the best out of their team. So I qualified as a coach in 2022, and I've been doing that ever since as well. So I do both alongside each other. So I work with SMEs. So I don't go above businesses that have 100 people, because I like working with founder-led businesses. As soon as it's past the founder being part of the business, it's less interesting to me ultimately. But I also work with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs as well on a coaching basis. It's very fluid. I enjoy it a lot.
So I'm going to move now, because you have been in this business world and strategy for a very long time. I'm going to move on to the questions that are related to this podcast. And the 3 main things we have are discipline, strategy, and having a lifestyle-led business. And I think you can tell us a lot about this. So my first question is, what do you understand by discipline in business, and how do you apply it to your everyday business life?
So discipline's a great topic. When you messaged me and said, I want to talk about discipline, I was like, yes, because discipline was actually my word of 2025. I think I had a good amount of discipline, but I've really doubled down on it. This discipline for me, I think growing up, we hear the word discipline and we hear punishment. But discipline for me is about self-care. It's the greatest act of self-love that you can have, right? It's keeping a promise that you've made to yourself, even when it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment. It's keeping that promise so that the future you can benefit in the long term. So for me, discipline is everything from prioritization and really focusing on your priorities. I think people consider prioritization as, oh, we'll just put in order of priority. And I'm really ruthless about it. I'm like, no, if you've got more than three, that's not a prioritized list. That's just a list. So focus on three things. Don't have more thin three. That's how you prioritize. Prioritization is actually about sacrifice. It's about saying no to things that seem shiny that you might want, but knowing that they are just going to spread you too thin and you're not going to actually achieve anything with them. So for me, discipline is about that prioritization. It is about saying no to things. It is about keeping your focus really, really tight so that you can really put everything into them and reap the rewards and get them done. But I'm also pretty disciplined in my personal life, more so now than ever before. I think you're on a similar journey as I
Yeah.
am. Actually, I don't want to get to another year and look back at photos and think, I wish I didn't necessarily look like that, or my body's not quite as strong as I want it to be, or, with you being able to run around after your little one, I obviously don't have that, but I want to be going and hiking mountains, and I need my body to be strong in order to do that. So I have been a lot more disciplined around exercise and diet and making sure I'm taking care of myself, especially with chronic illnesses. You have to be really disciplined to not give in and not be a
Yeah.
victim of your chronic illnesses and actually thrive despite them. So, yeah, for me, discipline has been a big part of 2025. And I think it's a big part of why my business is succeeding as well as it is, and the momentum is building as much as it is at the moment.
So, I really like the fact that you said that taking care of yourself and putting yourself first has helped your business grow faster.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to someone earlier today and I was saying when we start our businesses, most of the time we think about our clients. Then we realize we work too much and we are ignoring the family. And then we
Yeah.
want to spend time with the family and we come last. But the moment we understand that if we put ourselves first, then everything else would work much better and we
Yeah.
would have more results. That's the moment that real change comes and fast growth. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I truly agree with this. My word for 2025 was health, but I
Hmm.
didn't know how much health um,
Yeah.
meant at that moment for me. And it was mental health, physical health.
Hmm.
I did lose 1/3 of my body weight.
Wow.
Yes.
That's incredible.
And I have just a tiny bit to be there. But I never thought, even my therapist said, I never thought you would be able to actually keep it up and do it because I
Yeah.
usually give up on things. But that's why I thought discipline is really important and we should talk a bit more about it.
Absolutely.
Because for me, discipline, it started, for example, with walking. I never
Hmm.
used to walk.
Yeah.
And forcing myself to get out of the house and do like 12K steps or 15K steps a day, every single day. It was something like I had never done before.
Yeah.
I was born in a taxi. That's what people say. When you're born in a taxi, everywhere you take a taxi. So I understood that you just do it. It's not waiting for the motivation to just fall out of the sky.
Yes.
You have to force yourself to do it. And after some time, you actually feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever read Atomic Habits?
I started it. I don't read. I listen.
Well, so I listened to it on
Yeah,
Audible,
the
and
audible.
hilariously, I listened to it whilst I was out walking the dog. It became a bit of a ritual,
Mhm.
and I really love a lot of what he has to say around
Yes,
the building of those habits because you do
and
need a
micro habits.
cue,
Yeah.
and you do. And for me, I think you know me quite well, so you know that I'm obsessed with like stars, like giving myself a little star sticker like a 5-year old, and having a little star chart to be like, yay, I ticked off the thing, I did the task. So for me, I motivated myself in the beginning by the dopamine hit that I would get from ticking off the thing that I had done.
Yes.
So the motivation wasn't in doing the thing itself, it was being able to say that I'd done it. And to this day, I think I'm on like a 90-day MyFitnessPal tracking my food streak because I like the fact that the number gets bigger every single time. So
Yeah.
even when I'm like, can't really be bothered, oh, there's a lot of effort, I'm like, no, but I don't want to lose my streak. It's really important to me. And I think it's really important to have something that motivates you, that you
Yes.
can't rely on wanting to do the thing every single time. Sometimes you have to have something else that goes, well, I can't lose that, so I'm gonna have to just crack on and do it anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Doing it anyway is the most important thing here. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm going to move on into the second topic, which is
Hmm.
strategy, and
Yeah.
you are a strategist. So what do you understand by strategy in business or in marketing, and
Hmm.
how do you apply that?
I love this question because there is quite a big misconception in a lot of places between strategy and tactics. So, tactics are the actions that you take. So, where do you show up? What do you do? And a lot of the time, people think that that is strategy. They're like, oh, what's the strategy I should follow? Should I be on LinkedIn or Facebook? And I'm like, well, that's not a strategy, that's a tactic. That's a step by step. So, I like to use metaphors a lot. So, my kind of way of explaining strategy is that imagine you're driving from where you are right now to Paris. You wouldn't just get in the car and start driving and hope that you were heading in the right direction. You would chuck it into a sat nav, then you would look at the route and you would choose which route you wanted to take, and then you would press go and it would give you your turn by turn instructions. In 300 yards, take the next left. So for me, strategy is you have the goal setting of what is my destination? If you don't know where you're trying to get to, you cannot physically have a strategy because a strategy is achieving something. And if you don't know what that something is, then how can you achieve it? So you set the destination and then you choose your route. So it's literally looking at it and going, oh, do I want to take, for me, if I'm looking at going south, I'm like, do I want to go on the M6 toll or do I want to go on the M6 not toll? Do I want to go via Newcastle or do I want to go via Birmingham? You know, looking at that and going, okay, what's the route that I want to take to achieve this goal on a real macro level, like a really zoomed out version? And then I can pull in and go, okay, how am I going to achieve this step by step? So this is where your tactics come in because your tactics are your turn by turn instructions. So I tend to do an annual strategy, but I then pull that back and all of my clients we work on a quarterly strategy. So we have our annual goal, we're always heading in that direction. That's always the route, but we're only looking at a quarter of the journey each time so that we can get, you need that outlook to come really in and get the detailed look to make sure that you're not just, squirreling away and you're going to end up somewhere, like Timbuktu that you didn't want to actually end up in.
Yeah. So you do this with your clients every 3 months. You meet up, you talk about how things are. That is very interesting. And I think many people in business don't do that. And I'm not just saying, talking because sometimes it feels like I'm talking about people just starting out.
Yeah,
No, there are people who've been in business for years and years and years, and they never do that. And
yeah,
I found it a few years ago when I did this. I found, especially with two businesses, it was much, much easier to know what I'm going to do each month.
yeah,
And like there was no pressure for me to just guess and stress about
yes.
what's going to come next. Where is the next sale going to come next? So I think this is a really important thing. Can anyone take part in these
Yeah, absolutely.
sessions?
So it's a framework that I use called the Quarterly Planning Club. All of my offers have very Ron Seal names. So we meet up once a quarter. It's a workshop. You're taken through, and it's even to the point of we do a quarterly audit of our business. We track our metrics. It's quite
Exactly.
intense, little Google form that we use. I won't lie, there's a lot of questions, but what it means is we get a snapshot every single quarter that we can track the progress that we've made. We can see what the actions that we've done over the last quarter, what difference they have made. And that helps us to then set the next set of actions as well. And it's open, so it's part of my Actual Results Club. So anyone that's in the Actual Results Club gets access to Quarterly Planning Club, but I open up Quarterly Planning Club to absolutely everyone. And I've had, as you say, people that are just starting out, all the way up to consultants that have been in business for 20 years
Yeah.
that have just never done it this way. And they come in and they're like, oh my God, why did I never think of this? This is quite obvious when you say it out loud, but clearly not that obvious because people just don't take the time to do it, but it really does lower the decision fatigue. I think a lot of the overwhelm, like you said, the guesswork of, oh, what do I need to do? When you're playing with that much data, when you're taking time out once a quarter to really look at it, you're not guessing anymore. You've got the data there. You're just doing exactly what the data is telling you to do. And you're in touch with your strategy, you're in touch with your research, and it makes it so much easier to focus. Ultimately, the aim is to not have more things to do and to not feel like you're over engineering your business. We want to scale backwards and simplify everything. And actually, sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. So, slowing down to take a look once a quarter is the perfect way to create that momentum a lot quicker.
I really like this conversation and everything that you've said, because I feel many people nowadays, like when they start their businesses, they don't think of it as a business. They're
Hmm.
very passionate about what they do. They want to
Yeah,
help people. I know this is what they say. I want to help people. I want to give back because I know what I've been through. But they don't really understand that in order to have a life and live off of your business,
yeah.
you need to treat it like a business. So, yeah, you can be good at something, but that
Hmm.
doesn't mean you're going to have that financial stability that you need in order to be able to help more people.
Yeah,
And looking at data, I know people don't like doing that,
yeah,
but that's one of the things that really needs to be done. And, you
absolutely.
know, I think people think I'm going to get to that later. When is that later? When
Well,
when
yeah, when
you
does that
realize you're
come?
struggling. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote down here, that people don't analyze, don't take time to analyze. They
Mm.
just guess and hope for the best. Maybe
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
going to, yeah.
I have met business owners that have been in business longer than I have who don't even track their financials. Like they can't tell you when their annual payments are due to go out or, what their forecasted income is for the next 6 months. They don't have those numbers. I've got a spreadsheet that's covered in graphs. I can tell you exactly the performance of my business every single month for the last 5 years. And because of that, I can see trends. So actually there was a question on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in earlier was like, how do you deal with quiet months? And I'm like, I plan for them.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I make the
You know,
most of
yeah.
them. I know that December is always a month where people don't spend a huge amount of money with me. And so I've made it a month where I don't work a huge amount because what's the point in trying if it's not going to happen? But I know that October and November are traditionally
Yes.
massive months for me
Mhm.
and they offset December. So it's okay. And I can just pick back momentum up in January. But if you don't know that, and if you don't track that, and you don't know that it's coming, you then get to December and you go, oh, my income's down,
Yes.
I don't know what to do, and everything feels crap, and I've spent all my money from last month, so what am I going to do about this
Yeah.
month's
Mhm.
bills? And it's like, well, just be prepared. Like, look at the data, allow the data to give you that knowledge, and obviously, when you've just got started, you don't have the past data, but track it now and start
Yes.
building it and start building those trends so that in the future you can use them.
I was actually hosting about 3 years ago a workshop on terms and conditions and how to organize their finances. It was for English language teachers
Yeah.
at that moment. And someone asked me, should I come because I've just become an English language teacher and I
Hmm.
don't have clients? Should I come and learn about this? And I was like, when when do you want to learn about it? Because when we talk about those things, it's because we were there and we went through those things. We
Yeah.
know how important it is to know the things beforehand, because we wouldn't have made loads of mistakes
Yeah,
if we had known that. So as early as possible, that's when you
absolutely.
have to start learning. Yep.
Yeah. A lot of the work that I do, I don't tend to work with brand newbies anymore. I do the occasional power hour with them to get them started, but I won't do any of the higher level work with them because it's often a little bit too in depth and it can be
Yes.
quite overwhelming to them. But it is amazing how often the work that I do with the very established business owners is still going back to the basics. It's still
Yep.
going back to the foundations and really firming them up because so many businesses have been built on sand. And you're like, that's a beautiful mansion, and one wave will knock it out if we don't get those foundations fixed. So, yeah, the sooner newbies can get started, the better, ultimately.
Yes. So you said something about having a chronic illness,
Hmm.
and I wanted to ask you, because the last point here related to the podcast is building a lifestyle-led business.
Yeah.
How well do you think your business is optimized at the moment, especially that you also have that chronic condition? How does your business help, and how do you get organized in order to take care of yourself?
So it's interesting, isn't it? Lifestyle business, I think, means something different to everyone.
Yeah.
But for me, it's about having a business that supports me. So it has has to work for me rather than me working for it. Because if I was working for it, I might as well just go and get a job, right?
Yeah.
So I suffer from migraines. So I've had those since I was a teenager, and I've also got endometriosis. They're both obviously very painful conditions. Chronic inflammation is a big part of it, and chronic fatigue is a big part of both of them as well. So I needed a business that I wasn't effectively going to have to work long hours. I absolutely loved my former career, but I was working 10 to 12-hour days, Monday through Friday. And I was still on call when I was on holiday, and there was a lot of expectation that if you were going to go up the career ladder, you had to be
Yes.
available, right? You had to just put the work in. And it's funny because when I first started my business, and I don't know about you, like, especially in 2020, the words freedom and flexibility were just everywhere. Everyone's like, why did you start a business? I just wanted freedom and flexibility. Like, that was everyone's answer. And then that meme came round that was like, oh, I gave up my 9 till 5 so that I could work 24/7.
Yes.
And I saw so many coaches, I saw so many professionals that were doing really well and were on paper were very successful. And I would go to these masterclasses run by them where they were giving out this advice for how they got to where they got to. And they were all like, you have to grind, you have to hustle, you have to sacrifice, but it'll be worth it in the end. And I was like, I just gave that up. If I wanted to sacrifice, if I wanted to
Yeah.
hustle, like I'd have stayed there where I was getting paid good money instead of coming back to ground zero. And so I was like, no, there has to be another way. There has to be another way. And actually, I was about 6 months in at this point, and I was like, I'm only working 20 hours a week. That's the maximum that I'm working, and I'm already matching my corporate salary. So how am I doing this? Like, can I work out what I'm doing so that I can tell other people how to deal with it? Which is what eventually created the Business Freedom Method, which is my trademark kind of framework, very loose framework that I take people through because you don't have to. There's no such thing as not hustling.
Yeah.
The word hustle has a really bad reputation, but it's absolutely fine. Sometimes you
You
just
just
have
need to.
to you just have to sit down and fucking get on with it,
Yeah.
right? You have to have that discipline to say, right, do I want to sit here and write 17 emails? Absolutely not. I can't think of anything worse. Am I going to benefit in the long run by writing them? Yes. So I'll sit here and I'll write them and I'll get them done. I think people that expect their business to only ever be fun are the ones that never have a good business. Like they're never going to get
Yeah.
success. If you need it to always be fun, then you might as well just give up now because it's not going to be. But equally, you don't have to work 12-hour days. You don't have to work super long hours. You don't have to give up things and sacrifice family time or sacrifice personal time in order to be a success. You just have to be really focused. That's it. That is, if I was to like take the 5 years of expertise that I have built by building my business that I teach my clients every single day, the word focused is it. Just focus. Stop getting excited by shiny things. Stop trying to do a million things all at once. Stop trying to be everywhere for everyone and really focus because that's where you're going to take off.
Yeah. I was listening to you earlier and I was also thinking about the other people that I interviewed. I've noticed that the people who've, from my point of view, have made it, and
Mhm.
when I say made it, I don't like think just about money. I think about that internal peace and
Mhm.
happiness and
Yeah.
I'm okay with where I am. I know I can go further if I want to, but I am okay with my life and what I've built.
Mhm.
And all of you have frameworks.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what's your opinion on this, having your own frameworks?
Super controversial. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's definitely a product of its time. So 2020 to 2022, if you didn't have a framework, you were nothing and you were going nowhere and you were going to be awful and terrible. And so everyone like hurried around desperately scrambling to pull themselves their own little framework. But like a lot of the time, frameworks are just people desperately trying to reinvent the wheel so that they can argue that they have something completely unique. I will tell you right now, there is nothing unique about my framework. The reason it's a framework is just because it's a great way of guiding, it's structure to guide people through. But it's not, when people say a framework, they're expecting it to be this like mind-blowingly original, beautiful structure that everyone goes, oh, didn't even know it could be that way. And it's just not, and it never is. There's nothing new on the internet. It's not a thing. What it is a structure that guides people through, that allows you to stay focused because you're not having that decision fatigue of like, oh, where do we go next? Or what do we do next? You just follow it step by step. You've got a plan, you follow the plan works. It's as dreamy as that. So I think having a framework is, you can put too much pressure on it. You can put too much pressure on it to be a thing. It doesn't need to be a thing. Every single person has this structure, has a framework that they follow. It doesn't need to have a special name. It doesn't need to be trademarked. If you've got a great name, awesome. But if you've got a structure that you take people through, then you have a framework.
Yeah.
It's just about creating kind of the structure. So I think it's something that certainly I've noticed a lot of my clients, it is an excellent procrastination tool of like, well, I can't possibly sell anything until I have finalized my framework. So let me do the thing that I really love doing, which is toying with my intellectual kind of brilliance and not doing sales, not doing marketing, not doing any of the stuff they don't want to do. And then going, I just don't understand. It must be because my framework's not good enough. And I'm like, no, it's because you're not selling. That's it. Like, that's the only answer.
Yeah. I think a good framework comes not in the beginning. It
Mm.
comes from experience, and
Yes.
like the framework that you have and the ones that I saw in the other guests, those were things that came after a few years of experience
Yeah.
and, testing
Happens.
out. So trying to come up with a framework in the beginning when you don't have the experience, you haven't
Yes.
done many people, the clients, you don't have the data. The data we come
The
back.
data. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think it's you're exactly right. Like you're so exactly right because you have to experiment in the early days when you're first getting
Yeah.
started, especially, a lot of my work is consultancy work. And consultancy work is really in depth and it's not just coaching. So I'm not just like helping people and go, oh, what do you think? It's literally me taking just enormous supersets of data and like playing with them and being like, oh, if I nudge this, what happens over there? And you have to do so much experimentation. You have to be willing to get it wrong. But after three, four, five, six, however many you do, you start to go, oh, look, there's a pattern there.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a pattern. I've seen this before. I've seen that one before. And that's how the frameworks are built, is that you've seen it a million times before. So you know from experience what nudges are going to work. And therefore that becomes part of your structure. And you go, right, well, I know that this always comes up. I know that this is always something that we need to work through. So I'm just going to solidify it in place and make it a part of my framework.
Yeah.
And that's it. But if you try and make it up from guesswork of, I think that they might want to do this and this might, like, that's too many ifs, buts, maybe. It's
Yeah.
like, let's work from the data, right? Let's let the trends and the patterns reveal themselves. And then it's so much easier to build a framework because it's right there in front of you. You just have to stick a label on it and call it a framework.
I think we said data so much
So much.
that I'm going to make it my word for 2026 because I think it's the most important one.
It
So
really is.
you have been in business for a while now. If you were to give us 1 to 3 lessons, things you've learned that you'd like to share with
Mhm.
people who are at different stages of their business, which would these 1 to 3 lessons be?
So my first would be switch off, like know your pattern, right? I think in the very beginning of my business, I would talk a lot about work-life balance. I still talk a lot about work-life balance, but the way that I meant it in the beginning was like, no, you absolutely should never work on a weekend and you should never work in the evenings. And like, that's terrible because I didn't want to do that for me. And actually, 5 years in, work-life balance is whatever works best for you. I've got a lot of clients that work so well in the evening because the evening is when they light up. That's what their circadian rhythm does. They are at their best, they're at their most creative, and they really love working in the evenings, and it works for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that is a work-life balance. Like their work-life balance doesn't have to match mine, but there does have to be a balance, and you have to know what that is to make sure, I call it the life first methodology, is that you have to ring fence some life. So for me, that's doing things like booking exercise classes so that I absolutely have to shut my laptop down, go and get changed and get to the gym to go to my exercise class because I can't then be like, oh, well, I'll just send one more email because then I'm ahead of the day tomorrow. So many people say that to me. I'll just, if I do it now, then I won't have to do it tomorrow. And it's like winning for tomorrow, except tomorrow, then you'll do the next day's stuff, and then you'll do the next day's stuff. And at that point, you're not really doing the next day's stuff, you're just doing today's stuff. You're
Yeah.
just working really long hours. So, yeah, so my first tip would just be know what your optimum lifestyle is and make sure that you are carving out time, not just for family and friends, but for yourself as well, and for the things that are really important to you. The number of entrepreneurs that I have met that cannot answer the question, what do you enjoy doing other than work? They don't have hobbies, they don't have things that they do, and they're like if you ask them who they are, they tell you about their business. And I'm like, great, but who are you as a
Yeah.
human? And they can't answer.
I had this problem, and I actually had a coach telling me once to go and get some hobbies.
Yeah.
And I thought I was okay. And then I realized, well, actually, I'm not. I
Hmm.
should better get some hobbies.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's really important. It's good to have a creative outlet, whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't have to be doing something creative, but having that time away, like for me, it's time in nature. I've got the dog, so that's great because that gets me outside and I don't work whilst I'm walking him. But it's also, going to the beach, climb a mountain, see beautiful things outside. I like to create things. I like to draw and I like to make bracelets and an enormous Swiftie, almost embarrassingly so, except I will never be embarrassed of being a Swiftie. I have a whole shrine set up to her with thousands of bracelets. So, there's all sorts of things and it does help. And it sounds ridiculous, like you should do it for you. But so many people know me because of the things that I do outside my business. It's become part of my personal brand as well, is that, hey, I'm more than a business. I'm a human as well. I think it's a way to stand out for sure.
Because you were talking about getting out of the house and you started your business during COVID.
Mhm.
Do you network? Do you go to live
Mhm.
events? Do you like networking online? How do you network now?
So, a mixture of both, and I love having a mixture of both. There is nothing quite like meeting people in real life, like meeting people in person. I think it's just like the energy is very, very different. And I'm actually an ambivert, like I sit dead in the center. I'm not extroverted or introverted. So I do love going out and actually being around people. For example, we're obviously filming this in November. Last week, I was at a Christmas party in the center of London with 190 people that are part of a community that I'm sort of part of. I've been in for 3 years. And so we network online, but we also have these in-person meetups, which allows you to kind of have the best of both worlds. I think there's, networking for the sake of networking, where you go and do the online sessions. They can be really fun. Like they don't have to be boring. I know some incredible ones that are, fast-paced, you meet lots of people, you connect real time. But the friendships that you build when you meet people in person and actually get to know them a little bit outside of Zoom does make a real difference as well. So yeah, I'm definitely a 50-50 person.
Okay. We are coming towards the end of this podcast, and I wanted to ask you something that doesn't really, connect with discipline and strategy and so on. What it does, but it's more like marketing stuff. How do you show your expertise and your authority in your marketing or the way you show up for your
Mhm.
business?
So it's interesting. It's something that's ever evolving because I'm definitely not a marketing expert, but over the last 5 years, our trends have gone from give out loads of educational stuff where you teach people loads for free, and then they go, oh, well, if you teach me that for free, then what I must get even more when I'm paid, to don't talk any educational stuff whatsoever, be super controversial and have a filter brand, to like, oh no, you should just have an aspirational brand so people want to learn from you to have what you have. I think the marketing trends have changed so much and will continue to change so much. I think for me, a lot of my business comes through relationships. I would say 80% of my clients know me really, really well. They come back to me time and time again. They buy multiple offers from me, but before they buy the first time, like they've known me for a decent chunk of time, and we have like an actual relationship. not just a parasocial relationship where they're like, I recognize that person, but we've had conversations about stuff. So for me, the best marketing tool is just being a multi-dimensional human being and just showcasing that, being like, hey, I have interests and I'm a massive nerd, and hey, talk to me about X, Y, and Z topic because I'll get on my little soapbox and we can have a fun chat about it. That's always been the best way that I found. It's probably not that scalable, but it works really well for me. It's got me a six-figure business. So at the end of the day, like I'm more than happy with it.
Good, good. I really like that. And I think, yeah, the human connection is really important. When I talk to my clients, for example, with this marketing thing, I tell them it's more about it's now, especially in Facebook groups or communities where they are in, it's connection, not just commenting. You need to create those relationships for that know, like, and trust factor, which
Yeah.
some people are for, some people are against. Again, I think with marketing, it depends so much on what you feel comfortable doing and how you
Yeah.
feel comfortable showing up. So, at present, what
Yeah.
are your offers at present?
So we are literally just about to start the Q1 2026 Quarterly Planning Club. So obviously super relevant to this conversation because it is about that structure. It is about creating that plan that's going to take you up to the end of March, really move that needle for you. I really hate the phrase move the needle, but it's true, right? We want to be making progress. We want to get actual results. So yeah, Quarterly Planning Club is just about to start and is absolutely something that everyone is welcome to come and join in on. It's a paid workshop. We're together for a week, but you walk away with so much data, right? You walk away with the full form, you walk away with the plan, you walk away with your priorities, your strategy, and your tactics. So it's probably my favorite offer that I have, full stop.
And do you have any gifts for our listeners?
So I have a podcast of my very own where I talk about a lot of the really messy side of entrepreneurship and the kind of the imposter syndrome, the emotions, the stuff that no one really talks about is what we talk about there. So we can absolutely kind of send them that. And also in my emails, I will send out quite a lot of bits of advice, little tidbits, things that I have been sharing within my paid spaces. I will often throw out to my email list. So if people want to sign up to my email list, they are more than welcome to do so.
Amazing. Yes. My last question is, where
Hmm.
can people get in touch with you? Are you on a specific platform like Facebook, Instagram, email, website? If they want to get in touch with you fast, how can they do that?
All of the above. I'm mostly on, well, I say mostly, I'm actually now on three platforms pretty regularly. So I'm Facebook personal profile, LinkedIn profile, and Instagram. I do a lot of Instagram stories, so I'm pretty much always on the app. So if anyone wants to DM me, they are more than welcome to do so. All of the links can be found on my website, which is really helpfully just alex.coward.co.uk to make it super easy to remember.
Great, because I'm actually going to add all those links under the video in the description so people can get in touch with you. Thank
Amazing.
you again for being a guest on this podcast. It was lovely talking to you, and I think the topics today are really important. And if people are listening to this, you get in touch and book that planning club sessions because they are really, really, really going to help them. I think this is one of the things that's really missing in a lot of businesses, and that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited when you said you were doing this podcast. So, yeah, thrilled to be part of it.
Thank you. Alex just dropped some serious truth. Discipline as keeping promises to yourself, slowing down once a quarter to actually look at your data, and building a business on solid foundations instead of sand. These are the fundamentals most people skip and then wonder why nothing's working. If you want to stop making the same mistakes with your business values and actually showcase what makes you different, grab Alex's free Integrity Masterclass. Links in the description along with where to find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And if this resonated, subscribe and join our YouTube community. And I'd love to know in the comments what you're actually going to implement from today's episode. See you in the next episode.